Hi, Brigitta. Welcome to the
Hi.
show.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I'm so excited to have you here because you have such an interesting background where you really are going deep in creativity and Pilates, and there's so much going on that I want to get into. But can we just start by having you share with the listeners a little bit about your practice with creativity and how you're working with clients?
Yeah, so I am a couple of things. I'm a life coach, I'm a Reiki master, Pilates instructor, yes. And also I do include crafting with a lot of the facilitating that I do, primarily, of course, in person. And I see creativity as a way in to connect with your intuition, your true self. And the reason I believe that is for a couple things. First of all, we all, we have this quote in our book, we all colored before we wrote and we all sang before we spoke. And for you and I to be even here having this conversation, a lot of creative things had to happen. Just the whole technology alone is like some very creative thinker or several figured this all out so we can have this conversation and share it with everybody else. So there's a huge amount of creativity that just happens as a part of evolution and who we are. Now, the other thing with creativity is something as simple as doodling or even coloring in like an adult coloring book. It supports you in becoming comfortable with the unknown. And in order for us to grow and in order for us to heal and take the risks that we want to take so we can live the kind of expansive, interesting lives we want to live, we have to learn to get comfortable with our uncomfortable, sort of, if you will, and get comfortable with taking risks, which most of us are pretty comfortable in our early years. You know, when we're in our 20s, we're like taking risks, we're, going for it because we don't really know yet what could possibly go wrong. And then as we get old, kind of realize, ooh, this is a little uncomfortable. Creativity supports that because, again, even if you're doing a paint by numbers, you literally don't know what it's going to look like. You don't know what color you're using next if you're playing with a coloring book. And if you're doodling, you genuinely don't know. Like, where am I going to start doodling next? Is opening the door for you. And so I find it a beautiful tool to just do that. So to get comfortable with what does it feel like when the inner critic that I have going on in my mind is quieter. It never really goes away, but if it's just quieter, and so we learn how to modulate who am I listening to in this time? Do I want to listen to that critical voice? Is it helpful in this situation? Because sometimes it is. It will have helpful information. Sometimes it won't, particularly when we're being creative. And particularly if we're trying to think outside of the box. They're healing. It's a practice. It can be a daily practice for people where they start to just get comfortable with not knowing. And really all you need to do is get comfortable with not knowing the next step. That's all.
So I want to make sure I'm hearing this correctly. So it's the connection of when you're doing a creative project, there's a part of you that's relaxing into the unknown or touching into a part of themselves where they are okay with the unknown.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. A lot of us are very uncomfortable with that liminal space of I don't know yet, like just that sitting in that in between. And that truly is where, in my opinion, like that's where magic can happen, but we have to allow time for that. It doesn't function at our 9 to 5, like let's show up on time and do the thing. That's not how that liminal space works. And unless you start to have a relationship with it, and it could trigger all sorts of things. It could trigger your fear, your anxiety. And I'm not saying that there shouldn't be necessarily some anxiety when you're going into the unknown. Of course, there should be. But that liminal space is truly there for you. So to get comfortable with how does it feel for me in my body, in my life experience, when I'm dancing in this space where time doesn't really exist the same way that we in the Western world like to think it does.
Okay. So it's touching into that liminal space for even just a few moments at a time.
Yeah.
You said in the beginning how children start with creative processes. And then as we get older, it's harder. Do you think older women have an even harder time than middle-aged or younger women?
I do. I think it changes as we go through the different phases in our lives. I think it's interesting. Okay. I know, I'm in my 50s now. I'm 55. And I notice that when I look back to my 20s, sometimes I just look at her, that girl that I was, and I think, wow, girl, how did you do what you did? You were just out there doing the thing. And then as we get older, our values They don't change, but we start to understand what our values are, and we start to discern which values we're going to zero in on in this particular time in our life. And for what I think is important when we start stepping into that energy is when we're stepping into this liminal space, or when we're stepping into the uncomfortable zone, whatever kind of languaging works for you, to really honor who we were. I think we want to step into this new curiosity, new maybe even adventure, moving forward with really honoring her, really honoring the woman that we were who got us here. Because I know for me, and you'll probably agree with me on this, anytime there's been a big expansion step for me, anytime there's been a big, yeah, there's always this little bit of a definite part of me that's saying, are you sure? Are you sure? We could just stay here. And it's valid. And I think that I could just override that. My strong will could just do that. Or I could carve out some time, pull out the coloring books, or do some art journaling, some painting, go for a walk in silence, whatever. Doing things like that will help bring that girl along with me. I just don't want her running the show anymore, because she shouldn't.
Okay. Because we honor different parts of who we are, who we've been. And I think that's really important in all respects. And as you're talking about this, I'm thinking about the right brain, left brain.
It's actually proven. There's a great book called Craftfulness. They quote a lot of studies where they're looking at how to use creativity as a true, genuine healing modality. And what happens when we do switch over into that part of our brain is, funny enough, our problem-solving part of the brain has a rest and can think more clearly. So as counterintuitive as it may feel, when you're having a hard time with an issue, to go for a walk or do something goofy, put on some music, dance around, that's the way to get through the block. And I'll tell you who does do this well, funny enough, writers in Hollywood. Most writers in Hollywood who have done very well, and a good friend of ours is a professional writer, his office is crazy. It's got, yes, he's a computer and he's got books and things, but he's got a guitar, he's got comic books, he's got a basketball hoop. And I was there one day when he was working, quote unquote working. And he at one point got up and was goofing off on his guitar. And I was like, this is an interesting work day. Well, that's because he was stuck and he knew, I got to get out of this. I can't think, nothing's flowing. So he went and goofed off on guitar for 15 minutes, came back and wrote for another couple hours. So, and I've seen this multiple times with people, particularly writers, when they get stuck. And going for a walk is the easiest, just without earbuds, no phone, and just go, see what you see. And ideas will come in. And so, but now there is actual evidence that there's that part of our brain really wants to predict the future, wants to solve the problems, which is incredibly helpful to us.
I've never heard it explained this way before. I think it's really super helpful, because so often, I know for myself, I'll just stay in the other side and try to think it through, figure it out when the answer is not there.
Yeah. Because you mentioned Pilates too. Now, I did that for years and I still teach Pilates. The way my training with Pilates was, which obviously I gravitated to it so beautifully, was really using imagery versus explaining what you're doing. So I could say, engage your obliques, think of getting long, think of getting tall, or I can use an image like your spine is a spiral staircase twisting up towards the heavens. Immediately, you know what I'm asking you to do. I'm asking you for a twist and lift out of my core, because it's a spiral staircase. Up we go. That's faster. And you'll recruit the right muscles, because now we're working with different parts of your brain. Whereas if I tell you to sit up really tall, twist, use your obliques, twist up towards the ceiling, we're going to do a twist now. You're going to just sort of do the really obvious twist. Totally different experience of going up. Plus you're really rooted, and you can just feel it even with me describing it to you. It's a different cue.
Okay. Definitely. So with your Pilates, are you still teaching now?
I work primarily with seniors now. COVID was tough for me because I worked at other studios and I was starting to really step into coaching. So COVID was great for coaching because we were going online and I was already online. So that really helped. But the studios that I was working at closed. And so I was only able to
Okay.
retain the people who I work with one-on-one here in my home. And fortunately for me, they're all. So what I love about the seniors is if they're in town, they're here because they understand the value of showing up for yourself and staying strong and able-bodied and clear-minded. And I include movement with one of my classes, Synergistic Saturday and Sunday. It's a primarily Reiki meditation group that I do online. But one of the things we do is we do move for about 5 to 10 minutes, very specific movements to get people grounded. We can be really up here in our head a lot. Thing of movement, if it's Pilates or yoga or Tai Chi or walking, even again, without your earbuds, just walking, your body is very much present. It doesn't care about the future. It's not dwelling on the past. It is telling you where you are right now. I think that is another way to connect with your intuition.
So when you're describing the Pilates with that staircase, it's like you're doing such creative Pilates.
It feels that way to me. And yet I've seen how it works. What I love, the way I approach all of these things is how can it work in my everyday life? Like, how can I bring this rubber meets the road type of thing? It's got to work in life. It can't just work only when we're playing with our coloring books or only when we're on the Pilates reformer. It's got to work in everyday life. You know, and another good example is have a smile across your chest. Put that big smile across your chest. That's how you stand up straight. You know, or someone else will say, wear your proud chest today. Oh, proud chest. Okay. So that just changes and it puts everything into place rather than me telling you how to do it. And it's all specific to you because your smile across your chest and my smile across my chest are going to be a little different, but they'll be perfect for you. And now I've given you a tool that you can use throughout the day in your really everyday life. Everything that, you know, every meeting you go into, every client that you see, you can wear a smile across your chest. And that will affect your day.
Yeah, definitely. That's a great visual.
Yeah.
I'm picturing it now.
Right?
It's like really rethinking and experiencing our body and our creativity in very new ways that I don't feel I'm doing regularly. Really experiencing how my body is moving in space and feeling a different perception of even what my body is doing.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. And that's interesting. A friend of mine who's also a Pilates instructor, we were talking about mirrors the other day and how one of the reasons I loved working at her studio was because there were no mirrors. And I know that I prefer are the ones with no mirrors. With it's partly because we can get all caught up in ourselves. You know, I certainly do. And it's important to know where your body is in space, which is what you just said. What is happening with my body? What feedback?
Definitely. So tell me how Reiki is part of this program that you're practicing. How does it fit in with the other pieces?
It's a gorgeous addition, particularly with creativity. I love to incorporate Reiki with creativity or have Reiki sessions with people before they're going to go do, say, a writing class or anything, any kind of creative class. But it can even be a business class. If they can do Reiki beforehand, great, because through the use of imagery, we start to open up to different parts of ourselves. Now, what's fun about Reiki is it's a life force energy, so it's available to each and every one of us. We have it within us. We just generally ignore it or override it, and we mostly don't listen to it. And if we are listening to it, we could be misinterpreting it. I think there's that too, not really understanding what is my body trying to tell me right now, or which again, the Indian speaks to us through these images and through physical sensations. So Reiki is a way to strengthen the relationship that you already have. And for some of us, it's a brand new relationship, getting to know their intuition and trusting it. And for some people, they kind of have a bit of a relationship, but they're still unsure. And so to get specific with Reiki, I will have people make themselves comfortable. I take them on a guided visualization where they're already turning on all of their senses. They're what they could, in their mind's eye, see or know or smell or touch or hear. Whether they can visualize or not doesn't matter. It's just that inner knowing, just trusting that. And then they go on a visualization where they trust what's happening. And some people will fall asleep, which is absolutely fine. That's why I love Reiki. You can't do it wrong. If you fall asleep, great. You'll wake up with some inner knowing. It just will happen. And also synchronicities will start to happen around you. You'll get the information. Some people's monkey minds, we call it lovingly in this business, that sometimes kicks up into high gear for people when they start any meditation practice. Again, Reiki, it's life force energy. It's, I like to say our squirrel brain is no match for life force energy. It can go right past it, but it is a little uncomfortable. So if people find themselves getting caught up in that nattering brain, which I've had multiple times personally, it's just an opportunity to notice it. It's just a thought.
Yeah.
Bring yourself back to the rhythm of your breath or the music. I do use music to help people. And then some people often will go into a kind of a dream state and they'll experience amazing things. And so I'll give you an example. One of the people in a recent conference that I was at, she had done Reiki with me each day. I was offering it every morning. So she was able to come every day. And every day she had a different kind of a experience. She went on these different guided experiences in her own mind and in her own experience. And one of them, this one was a river. And she said it was fascinating because she was standing by this river and the river was showing her that sometimes the river will be frozen over. Sometimes there will be crazy riptides. You can go whitewater rafting on the river. Sometimes it'll be smooth. Sometimes it'll be clear. You'll be able to see all the way to the bottom. There'll be things living in there sometimes. Friendly things, not so friendly things. There's all sorts of things going on with this river. There's river banks. There's growth all around the river banks. And it was just really beautiful. And so she came out of, her meditation and she shared this. And I said to her, and this is where I talk about things being practical. This is practical information for you to have. This is beautiful information for you to have in terms of your days. Mm-hmm. Some days the river's going to be frozen. Some days it's going to be an adventure. Some days it's going to be really smooth. This is practical. So you can ask yourself, what kind of river is happening today? What's the river like? If you're feeling discombobulated, visualize the river. That's your river. I don't know what it looks like. You do. It's yours. That's an opportunity. That's a place for you to go when you feel out of sorts. That's wisdom. That's inner wisdom.
Okay. In all of these cases, it seems to me like you have these tools that you're helping people to connect with that part of themselves. Would you call it their intuition?
I call it intuition, your spirit, your soul, your higher self, sometimes even your inner mentor. It's whatever languaging you want to use for when you feel most like yourself. Mm-hmm. And things can be going wrong all around you and you can still feel most like yourself. And that's when you're in touch with whatever that is for you. I use the term intuition and soul and self. And, some people will say they're connected to God. They're connected to their spirit. Because it's going to feel different for each and every one of us. I think that's the other reason why I use very different language. I want to use different words. And same thing with Pilates. I'll use a lot of different images because I don't know which one's going to work for you. And it's kind of where the magic comes in my opinion, is you get to discover your own puzzle pieces and figure it out.
Yes, yes. I wonder what you would say for a woman listening, because a lot of my listeners are women who are navigating being alone, divorce, loneliness, wanting a new partner, navigating transition, but it seems like most are wanting a new relationship. Something is blocking them.
Yeah.
What is a possible way for them to begin to connect with themselves in a way that could help them to move forward in the direction they really want to go?
Yeah. There's a couple things they can do. First of all, going back to what you and I first talked about, which is that honoring the parts of them that got them here. So I would say I'm a big fan of IFS work, internal family systems work. But you don't even need to, go work with a therapist for this work. You can actually just take some time. Again, those walks by yourself are really good if that's available to you, if you live in an area that's safe enough to walk around. Dancing, putting on music, spending some time with a coloring book or doodling. I mean, really cheap. You don't have to spend a lot of money on arts. You don't have to go to an art class. But I am a big fan of spending that time on your own. It's what Julia Cameron called an artist date in some ways. Though not exactly. I would say with this, it's a little more directed because you're wanting to, again, create that relationship with that part of you that might still have some hesitation and to let it out and to say, hey, you know what, I see you. And part of the work that I love when I do that for myself is my first question is, how old are you? How old are you, sweetheart? And then it's like, do you know how old I am now? And do you want to know? And so it's a curious conversation with yourself. What are your big worries right now? And not in a condescending way, in a real curious way. And when you start to do this work with yourself, it's fascinating, actually.
Yes.
And then you can honor the part of you that is saying, this freaks me right out. I don't want it. And that's probably some of the block is there's a very legitimate, valid part that is scared. You can have a relationship with that part of you and bring it to a sense of safety and saying, look, I now know things that you didn't know. And recently, for me personally, I was able to do this with a part of me that I had to do a lot of forgiveness around it. You know, that part, I was scared at that time. I wasn't ready for things. I was freaked right out and I shut a lot of doors. I was protecting myself. And going back and seeing her and just loving her through it, just saying, yeah, you did the right thing then. And now the door can open. Now, look why. Look at why. Look at all the things that have happened. You know, and then for that part to be kind of relieved, it's like it doesn't have to drive the bus anymore is really nice. So I have found those parts of me really just sort of want to go for a swim, have a relaxation, just sleep for a while, have a rest.
Yeah.
And I know we're sounding a little woo-woo, which I know you don't mind at all, but it's not woo-woo at all because that, if you think to a time where you felt on edge, I know for me, it feels like there's another part literally of me taking over. And it's because it is a part of you, and therefore you must love it as much as all the others and get to know it.
Yeah.
And make it feel comfortable and safe with all of the parts of you. So there's that step for if you're really wanting to expand and meet somebody and maybe open up, you know, see what that brings into your life. And then the second part of that is to really create the space for it to happen. So to prepare for it quite literally.
Thank you. Those are great tips. I wonder how listeners could begin at home to do maybe some creative projects throughout the day. Do you have any ideas or thoughts on that, like how they can begin? You mentioned doodling.
There's a fun way to do color palettes. So you could start your day by just saying, okay, I'm going to look around. The first three colors I see are what I'm going to do, whatever I do with. And so for me, I'm looking at, okay, I can see white. I can see kind of an orange color. And I can see a turquoisey blue, sky blue. Okay, those are my three colors. Okay, so white, gold, blue. So with that, now it's like gathering. You can gather paints or colors or anything, or you can just start to notice throughout the day, I'm going to collect the color blue. I'm going to collect the color gold. I'm going to collect the color white. And we'll see what comes up and just notice what you notice. That's creative.
Love that. Love that.
And it's a fun way of actually looking at color theory. Because color theory is I've never gone to art school, but I know color is, you know, something everybody, if you're going to go to art school, you got to learn color theory. This woman was teaching it and she said, yeah, throw all that out. Just look around you, pick three colors and go, make it happen. It's really a fun way to create. And then if you like paint, if you like watercolors or you like coloring, whatever, then use those three colors and see what comes up. Or pulling magazine pictures and putting together a collage. Just go with those colors, see what happens. Let's see what happens.
Yes. I feel like doing that brings you so much into the present moment, too.
100%.
Because you're aware, opening up and aware of the world around us, like the colors that I might have walked by before. I'm actually intentionally observing and being present with my environment so much more than maybe a typical day where I have my AirPods in and I'm walking around.
Yeah. And you can go, if you don't want to do that, another way you could do it is just like, oh, I'm seeing that kind of a fuchsia, interesting color, and ask myself, how do I feel when I look at it? Just what feelings come up for me? Then that can be your way in of being present.
I've seen that before. I noticed that whenever I have my eyes open. Recently, I got really into the numbers, like the sequences, like angel numbers, and now I see them everywhere.
Yeah.
And I just wasn't thinking about it before. I'm sure I was seeing them, but I wasn't noticing them. And now I see them everywhere I go. I see 444, 111, all these numbers. And it makes me happy when I see them. And I thought, oh my gosh, I missed these, but now I'm seeing them. So it adds something to my day. It's just a very happy practice. So yeah, this is wonderful. I love the work you're doing.
Thank
I feel
you.
like it's so unique, so original.
Thank you.
And also the way you're doing these different things and how they have a connection point of intuition and just interconnection that I think is really wonderful. And I would love for you to share, and I'll be attaching to the notes all of your links.
Yeah.
But if you can share with listeners how they can learn more about you, how they could attend if you have virtual workshops, and a little more about your book.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that opportunity. Yeah, BrigittaDow.com is my website. See all sorts of things going on there. You can also just reach out to me directly from there and say, hey, tell me more about any of the things you just mentioned. I do have an ongoing, every month we meet, it's called Synergistic Saturdays and Sundays. So it's actually coming up this weekend, but it's the second weekend of every month, 2 1-hour classes on Zoom where we do Reiki. It's a community group. It's a nice low price, and you just sign up for the 1 hour, and then off you go for the rest of the month. And it's become a beautiful hour of self-care for a lot of people. You can come either Saturday or Sunday or both. And so it's one of my favorite ways to work with people, because we just check in for a little bit, do some movement, as I said, and then it's a full Reiki transmission. We talk a bit about what we experienced and then on to the next month. So it's a gorgeous community, so people can absolutely reach out to me and see how they can participate in that. And I do offer virtual coaching, group coaching, all sorts of different things that I do have going on at various times of the year. I just wrapped up a Momentum in Motion. That was a 2-hour class that I worked with people, and I did record it so people who can't come in person can watch the replay. I think that there's value in that. And all of these things include a Reiki meditation that they can download and they can use at their leisure. And then the book is available on Amazon. It's called Landing on Your North Star, A Guide to Finding Your Life's Purpose. And I co-authored that with Peggy Cooney. She's a social worker and a professor. So both of us have written other books. So for us to come together, very different women, very different approaches to healing and support. The thing we have very much in common is the absolute need for support for every human being on the planet, figuring out how to ask for it, what you need, and getting that support so that you can really grow. None of us were meant to do this alone. That book is a beautiful companion, I think. And I would think for anybody who's in a transition, be it graduating from college or these other transitions where you're spending some time alone to expand in relationship with someone else, possibly, as you were saying, like your listeners. I think that book, there's a lot in there to pinpoint whether you're on track or off track with what you, again, coming back to what I've been saying, with your intuition, with what you really truly want. And what lights me up is knowing that people are doing what it is they really want to do. If they're doing what they're meant to do, their unique ability is being shared with the world. I get excited about that. When I see that happening, then I feel like, then great, then this world has a chance. All of the things I do have that flavor to them. And of course, the book is the easiest way to get a sense of that, for certain.
Yeah. Yes, that's wonderful. I'm going to be taking a look at
Oh,
that.
thanks.
Thank you so much for being here today. I can't wait to dive into the book and learn more about you and your website. And thank you so much.
Thank you.